Well, hello, look at that. It's my face. It's been a while since I've put my old face on this channel. I'm Aiden Green. I'm here to talk about movies and TV, specifically the things that I watched this year. So stick around for that. It's mainly every movie I watched this year with a few sort of mini-series checked in there as well. I'm basically going through my letterbox on my phone. I'm going to go through my letterbox. I'm going to review every single gosh damn movie that I logged in there, which is a lot this year, so much so that I'm going to split this video up into two parts. And look, essentially, it's going to be a bit of a podcast, basically, because I don't want to edit it like I do a proper video essay. Otherwise, I'll be editing like a feature film of me talking about films and TV. So this is Aiden Uncut, Unhinged, just going absolutely bonkers, talking about movies, because apparently that's what I like to do. Make sure you subscribe if you like that kind of thing. If you like Uncut Aiden, then maybe Uncut Aiden can stick around and do some more things like this from time to time. Let's get on to this. If you like this video, you like talk about me, if you like me talking about movies and TV, make sure you subscribe and you get usually some better made videos than this one, than this pile of shit that I'm doing to end 2023 on. I started 2023 in New Zealand with my girlfriend Nicole. We'd been in New Zealand for a couple of days. So on January 1st, the very first movie that I watched was Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Of course I had to. You can't go to New Zealand and not watch Lord of the Rings. So I watched that. I loved it. We went to Hobbiton a couple of days after that. We were actually caravanning around New Zealand, or campervanning. So that was like a whole experience. So, you know, watching Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, I don't know how much you can say about a movie that's from the 2000s that I've seen before. You know, it's great. You can't fault it. I have started watching the extended editions, which I will talk about later, maybe in part 2 of this video. But, you know, you can't really fault Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Is it my favorite one? I think it could be. I like it. I think it's a little tighter. I like Hobbiton at the start. There's not enough Hobbiton in the rest of Lord of the Rings. Justice for Hobbiton. Okay, on the 15th of December, I watched The Menu, which I think was maybe slightly overrated, but I still really liked it. I gave it a 3.5. I should say, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, 4.5 stars for that one. The Menu, I gave a 3.5 stars. It sort of got halfway through the movie, and I just went, you know, I get it. I get what you're going for. I actually don't need the next 45, 50 minutes of this movie. I thought it looked fine. No, I thought it looked great, actually. I thought Ralph Fiennes was solid. I thought everyone was solid. Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, amazing. But, you know, I just got halfway through and was like, that's enough for me. I, of course, finished the movie, but I'd had my tasty meal halfway through the movie, which is ironic because that's kind of, I guess, in a way, what the movie is about. 17th of December, I watched The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's film of the year, which sort of is it is his life. You know, it's his life, but without Spielberg. It's not the Spielbergs, it's the Fabelmans. And, you know, it's good. It's 4.5 stars. I found it cute. I found it charming. I adored sort of what he went for. Maybe 4.5 is a little bit generous. In fact, I think it is, but this is just what I gave it at the time. And that's what I'm going to run with. I'm not going to change any of these stars here. So I gave it 4.5 at the time. I was really charmed by it. I loved the last shot. I thought it was sweet. It was a nice little joke, a cutesy little joke. So a big fan of The Fabelmans. Emily was a movie that I was really keen on for a while, starring Emma Mackey. I was a little late to the party with this one. Went down to a little indie cinema to watch it, which was really nice. And look, I love Emma Mackey. I loved the whole vibe of this film. But I think I did leave feeling a little bit emptier than I would have liked, but it does explore a lot of mental health and how that was handled a long, long time ago and how people were considered to be just sort of crazy for doing it, for having mental health. But yeah, I was a fan of it. 4 stars, great feeling watching it. You know, I was here for the vibes, you know. Not being here for the vibes, though, Avatar: The Way of Water on the 26th of January, I watched this, and I gave it a 2.5 stars. Did not at all care about this. I went on my own, and I just thought, this is nonsense. This is just, I don't, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say all CGI things are bad, because they're not, and CGI is a great use in the film industry, but, you know, I just couldn't attach to it. I thought the CGI was pretty bad in a lot of places. In some places, it was really good. But at the end of the day, it was just Avatar 1, but in water. I don't know. It lost the plot for me. It really did lost the plot for me. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everyone talked about this bloody movie, didn't they? I also watched this on the 26th of January. Gave it a 4 stars. I don't think it's the 5-star masterpiece that everyone else says it is. I think it hounds its themes home a little bit too much for me to be into that. And I think the pacing, and I know it's the title of the film, but the pacing was literally Everything Everywhere All at Once, which sometimes I could struggle to connect with. I'm a sucker for like a slow burn movie. So after watching Avatar: The Way of the Water, which was long and nonsensical, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was long, not too long, but long, slightly nonsensical, but at least had a heart and made sense, and I was all for it winning the Academy Award that it won. But I then came out of watching these two movies and went into Babylon, which is like a culmination of all that. I love Damien Chazelle as a writer and director. I love Margot Robbie. I love Brad Pitt. Was DiCaprio in this movie? DiCaprio wasn't in this movie. Am I making that up? No, I'm thinking of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But Babylon, I was keen for. I thought the trailers looked great. The score, I was a little sneaky and listened to the score before I watched the movie, and I was so there for it. Voodoo Mama, that is beautiful. I'm not doing that because I don't want to have to edit it out, but just picture the score. It's great. And I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It just was a lot of nonsense and crazy shit. Just crazy shenanigans. I think there's an hour and 20 minutes of a perfect, great movie in there. And then there's like an hour and 40 minutes of just like, what is going on? Why is an elephant doing a poo on the camera? Why is Margot Robbie being bit by snakes? I don't really know. But I think it is one that I've grown to like a little bit more retrospectively. But I must do a rewatch. I didn't realize it was about 12 months ago I watched Babylon. Jeez, yeah, I want to rewatch that. But, these 3 back-to-back crazy long movies in a row really paid off for me when on the 6th of February I went and watched The Whale, which I know some people have found a bit overrated. The initial reviews were amazing and incredible, and a few people went to see it and were like, well, it's not quite that, is it? I went to it after watching 3 huge movies and just thought, wow, just like 4 characters in a room. This is so nice. And it's like an hour and 40, an hour and 50? It was just lovely. I loved the feel of it. Obviously, Brendan Fraser, I don't know what I can say that hasn't already been said about this guy in this movie. He's exceptional. And I need to go and check out more of what's his name? This is how good my film logic is. I've forgotten his name. Darren Aronofsky. I've not seen enough Darren Aronofsky stuff because this movie is fantastic. And the ending though, not great. Literally the last shot. I love this movie, and the last shot happened, and I went, well, that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Okay, All Quiet on the Western Front. I gave this 4.5 stars, which again I think is maybe a little bit generous, but I was enthralled. I felt the intensity. I thought the cinematography looked amazing. The sound design and score. Some people say it's a little bit easy sometimes just to go mad on the dubstep, but I thought it worked. I thought this was exactly what this movie needed, and it's just stunning. I then went and watched Fire of Love, which is a documentary about a couple of little love-struck volcanologists, just a couple of homies just going and checking out volcanoes, filming them. They were claiming they weren't filmmakers, although all of this documentary is their footage, their found footage in a way, because this isn't a spoiler, this is made apparent very early on in the film. These 2 filmmakers died because of a volcano. And so this footage is sort of like their love story and their love for each other, but also their love for volcanoes. And other than a narration that is like, it puts you to bed, I thought this was really fun. 4 stars is good for this. Another 4-star movie I watched on the 8th of February, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This is an absolute banger. This was my childhood. I felt like a little kid again watching it. And so spooky and adult for a kid's movie, right? I love this. I loved it to bits. But, it's a kid's movie. There's not a lot more. I mean, I'm sure you can break things down. How good was it when they on the video camera, they see the ghost and it scratched the stuff into the wall? That stuff scarred me. That was the scariest bit of this movie for me. And still now, it gives me chills. I then watched The Black Phone, 3.5 stars. Not a lot to say about it. It's good. It's not going to make anyone think, this is the best movie of all time. It's directed by Scott Dickinson, Scott Derrickson, who you'd know from Doctor Strange, the first one. It's fine. It's good. It's an IP that's pretty solid, so I'm not really going to sit here and complain. Then watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 4 stars, classic childhood movie. Watched it far too many times as a kid. Then after that, I watched Star Wars: The Force Awakens, another 4-star movie that I've watched far too many times because I went and saw this 4 times at the cinema, and then watched it, I think, like 6 more times that year once it came out on Blu-ray. So now I sort of watch it and I go, well, I think I've seen this too many times. I think I can just let The Force Awakens rest for a little bit. Then I went on, continued a bit of Lord of the Rings stuff, and watched The Two Towers, which, this is a favorite, right? This is one that everyone loves. I'm yet to be... I love it, and it's my second favorite of the 3, but I'm not like... I'm keen to see what the arguments are as to why it's better than the first, because I think the plots are a little bit more disjointed than Fellowship of the Ring is. But, hey, I liked it a lot. The New Zealand location filming was great. I was back in Australia by the time I was watching this, so it's sort of like... It was like I was feeling nostalgic for being in New Zealand. So I went, chucked this on, and it did the trick for me. Piece of cake. Then watched Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter. Gave that one a 4. Yeah, another classic. I think it's better than the Philosopher's Stone. Just the vibe, slightly more adult, I guess. But then you get on to Prisoner of Azkaban, which is a fat 5 out of 5 stars. A big old love heart on Letterboxd I gave it, because you can't go wrong with that. I love Alfonso Cuarón. He is one of the best filmmakers, I think, ever. Like, seriously, that's a bold statement, but he's freaking heckin' great, and I wish he made more movies, because he's not made that many, and I want more of that man. Okay, 27th of February, the last movie I watched in February was probably the movie that changed my world. No, it was my movie of the year, even though it came out last year, but it only came out in 2023 in Australia. Aftersun. God damn, Charlotte Wells directorial debut. You got Paul Mescal, not Pedro Pascal, who I kept for some reason saying for the first month of me seeing this movie. I was like, have you seen that new indie film with Pedro Pascal? That was dumb. Aftersun, I bloody love it. I think it has excellent performances across the board. I love the daring way that they shoot some scenes. So simple, but also so complex at the same time. You know, shooting a dialogue scene through a reflection on a table, just the way they found certain framing in certain rooms, it spoke a lot. It brought a lot out of me. There's some lines in the movie that really resonate with me and really hard. Like, some really dark things made me find some dark truths about myself when watching this movie. I adored it. I'm going to be talking about it a few more times in this video, I'm sure, because I got the Blu-ray and I bloody love it. I then went on, so that's a 5 out of 5. Then in March, I went on and watched The Worst Person in the World, which is a Norwegian, I think. A Norwegian film, came out a couple of years ago, directed by Joachim Trier. 130 minutes, but it went by in a breeze. I loved this. Another 5 out of 5 film right here. It was just very, for me, you know, the indecisiveness of youth, in terms of what do you want out of your life, what do you want out of your lovers, all of this sort of, it just felt very relatable, and I think a lot of people could relate to it. I don't watch an awful lot of foreign films. I watch, some of my favorite films are foreign films, but I'm not someone that goes and seeks out a lot of, you know, like Indian Bollywood films or anything like that. But The Worst Person in the World was definitely a hit for me. Then I watched Good Will Hunting for the first time, because one of my best mates, it's his favorite film of all time, and I'd never watched it. And so he sat me down, you know, strapped me into the chair and said, "Right, boy, we're watching Good Will Hunting tonight." And you know what? I'm so sorry, but I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Another film, I got halfway through and I went, I get it. You know, I know what you're trying to do to me, film. I also, this is just a personal thing, I do, for some reason, struggle to engage with a few older films. The old school grey family movie film stock of like the 90s does not do things for me at all. I get bored, I go to sleep, have a nap. I was pretty tired when I watched this, but yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Robin Williams, fantastic, of course. Then I went to the rooftop cinema with my girlfriend and we watched Hannah Montana the movie, which, you know what? 3 out of 5 stars. And I know I just gave Good Will Hunting a 3 out of 5 stars. Am I saying that Hannah Montana the movie is just as good as Good Will Hunting? Maybe. I had a good time with it though. Enjoyed myself. Silly fun. Felt like I was living my childhood out. I don't know if I'd ever seen this from start to finish, but I was a big Hannah Montana head as a kid. I'm not gonna lie. Got the limo out front. Oh, every style, every shoe, every color. Let's just move on from that one. Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire, 4 out of 5 stars. Probably one of my least favorites of the Potter movies. No, I feel nostalgic. It's one of the most nostalgic of the Potter movies, but I do think sometimes it feels a little bit... I think you come after Alfonso Cuarón, who every shot is thought out, every beat is perfect, and then you watch Goblet of Fire, where sometimes I'm like, I feel like we're just watching a big studio wizarding movie. Not a bad one, it's a good one, but you're comparing it to what just came before, and it's definitely a step down in quality, I think. Although, we get a lot of freaking heckin' good memes out of that. That's my son! My boy! Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? I'm gonna stop. I'm making a fool out of myself. 20th of March, I watched Cha Cha Real Smooth, which I think, I'd seen this one before. I'd seen this last year. I really like this. It just resonates with me. I'm a sucker for these young adult movies. This will be a ongoing thread. Definitely wasn't as neat and tidy and engaging as it was the first time round, but Cooper Raiff, who directed this film, I think he's a good talent making good movies. I don't know that the direction is in particular the standout of the movie. I guess more just like the feel of the movie is what resonated with me, which it does come down to direction for sure, but I guess the themes and the subject matter and the writing is what hooked me up a little bit more into this bad boy. Over onto April, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Don't know what that means. Look, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, which I think is generous. I know people love the John Wick films, and I think they're good, but at the end of the day, they are just good action films. You're not ever going to get more than 3 out of 5 stars for me. I've not seen Chapter 4 yet, so maybe that might get more than 3, but it just needs a little bit more story. We're off in the desert, and I was kind of bored, and I was bored a few times in this movie, even though the action's engaging. Whenever it slowed down and tried to do a plot, I just went, it's bedtime yet. I'm keen for bed. Order of the Phoenix. Not the best one. I love this one as a kid for some reason. 4 out of 5 stars. What do you want me to say? It's Harry Potter. We've all spoken about Harry Potter. After that, Banshees of Inisherin, 5 out of 5 stars. This is one of my favorite films of 2022. Big old love heart over there on Letterboxd for it. It looks stunning. It feels stunning. I love the idea of just like a friend deciding that, you know what, I want something different in my life, and I'm going to just unfriend this friend. I love like the complexities that come with that. I think Martin McDonagh just rides that line of comedy and drama so well, to the point where every second line you're laughing at but also crying at, and it's a perfect movie for me. Like, no notes. I bloody love this one. And then I watched Help with my girlfriend, which felt a little bit... hold on, let me actually dive into my review for this one, because I remember thinking... Here's my Letterboxd review, okay? 3.5 stars. Despite its clear good intentions, The Help thinks it's a movie about African Americans, except it tells it through white eyes and often lets its most important characters fall into the shadow of its white heroes. That's what I thought of The Help. Maybe I was right. Maybe I was wrong. I actually forgot I'd watched this movie, so that probably says enough about it. I watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie at the drive-in. 10 minutes left of the movie. In the big action scene, my car battery died. So I couldn't listen to the rest of the movie. I was just hearing echoes of it through other cars. And then I had to wait and get my car fixed. So not the greatest experience watching this movie. But even before my car died, I just thought, it's fun. It's nothing more than that. Then I watched Aftersun again. I love it. I love it so much. The transitions, these little crossfades they're doing, the same sky sequence. Oh, it's so good. I want to get a poster or something for Aftersun, because I think it's fantastic. Then I watched Triangle of Sadness, 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know what this was doing, like, in the running for a lot of awards. I don't know. Like, it's fine, and I get it. Rich people are bad. And this one was just a little less blunt about it, I suppose. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing to write home about. Then I watched Dunkirk, which is really well made. Sometimes I think it could have done with a little bit more character work or something in there, but Dunkirk's good. It's Nolan doing Nolan things. It's so gripping and intense. 4 out of 5 stars for me. Then I watched Vampires Suck, which is a fat 1 out star. Couldn't even tell you about this movie. It sucks. It's in the title. It sort of tries to be shit, and it's shit her for trying to be shit. It's not a good movie at all. Then I watched Transformers, which is my childhood. A lot of my gateway into being into film and film analysis was actually through Transformers, which I know is strange because they're not great films. But I love to watch all like the stunts and the behind the scenes of how they worked with all the VFX and things like that. And so going back and revisiting Transformers for the first time since I've been an adult, I think the first film stands on its own 2 legs. I don't really want to watch the other ones because I know they'll fall in a dumpster fire of stuff. But the first film stands on its own 2 legs, and I had a good time watching it. It's not groundbreaking, but it's a bit of fun in it. Go Michael Bay, well done. You've made a 3 out of 5 star movie for once. Then I watched The Pope's Exorcist, where I watched at the cinema with a group of friends. I gave this movie a 1.5 star because it is just bad. I don't know what bloody Russell Crowe is doing being the Pope with his silly little accent on his little Vespa. It's kind of iconic in like a really shitty way. And in the cinema that we watched this in, every time there's like action and spooky stuff and no dialogue, the sound was great. And I shit you not, every single time they went to do a dialogue scene where they explained the plot, the sound cut out. And it was like, great. I didn't need to know what this was about. Anyways, you could figure it out just from watching it. But I only heard like 2 words whilst I watched this film because the cinema, failed us. Then I watched Another Round, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's in my top 4 on Letterboxd. 5 out of 5 stars. Love Heart React on Letterboxd. I think it's like a really real depiction of how we as a human race deal with alcohol and addiction of everything, but particularly I think it's really real and honest about alcohol. We can go, alcohol's bad for sure, but then we can also backtrack on that and go, oh, but it's also a lot of freaking heckin' fun. Mads Mikkelsen, a hottie, and he's great. He's a dancer. I want to see this boy dance. I could watch 2 hours of this boy dancing because he's a freaking heckin' good dancer. Yeah, I love it. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's a Dutch film, by the way, if you didn't know. I like to specify that because it makes me seem a little bit more cultured rather than just talking about Transformers. Then I watched All My Friends Hate Me, 3.5 stars. Another film I got halfway through and I went, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's not that memorable. I couldn't really tell you too much more of what it's about. It's like a bloke and he goes on like a trip to see some old friends and he thinks that they hate him. And it's sort of like a psychological horror because of that, which I really thought was interesting. But at the end of the day, I think, halfway through, I thought, I get it. Some movies should just be like 70 minutes long because I get it. I'm just so wise. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, which is a movie that was always my least favorite Potter movie, but the more I watch it, the more I do like it, and it's beautiful. Like, it is the only Harry Potter film, I think, to ever go up for an Oscar nomination, and that was in the category of Best Cinematography. And I think that shows, because this movie looks fan-freaking-tastic. Then I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 4.5 stars. I think this is the only Marvel movie I watched this year. Thank God I'm not still watching that dumpster fire. But this one's great. It's fun. Yeah, it ends with a big smashy bashy CGI thing, and it repeats some very similar stuff as the second movie, but yeah, I was still moved by the ending, and that did it for me. Then I watched Living, starring Bill Nye and Amy. What's her name? Amy, the one from Sex Ed. Oh God, this is gonna drive me nuts. Amy Lou Wood. I really like this. Honestly, though, I couldn't tell you anything about it. Like, I've forgotten it. I've forgotten this movie. I forgot I'd watched it. I own it on Blu-ray and I forgot that. My Letterboxd notes, though, say Magic, Billy Boy, The National Treasure. That score, Fug me! Surely 2022's best. Okay, that's interesting. Apparently I really liked watching it. Don't remember it, though. Okay, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1, which is, by the way, this is the last Potter movie I watched. For some reason, I didn't watch Part 2. Part 2 is... I get it. You know what I mean? You get 10 minutes into Part 2 and you go, I know what this is about. But part 1, I love. It's one of my favorite Potter films, if not my favorite. 5 stars. Fat old love react over there on Letterboxd. And I think it looks stunning. I love the slower pace. I love the more limited cast. Those things are a sucker for me, if you can't tell. A common trait is young adult stuff with slow pace and minimal casts. And if the cinematography is perfect as well, then I'm good. And this movie's exactly that. Another little young adult film, Edge of 17. This is a 4.5 stars with a love react on Letterboxd. And yeah, I bloody love this. I can't, we all know it. We all know Edge of 17 is great. It's so relatable. We've all stolen our mum's car and driven around in it for a day. But there are so many scenes that are really relatable in this movie. And it's great. No notes for Edge of 17. Scenes of a Marriage. We're on to June now, so this is the last month I'm going to cover in part 1 of this video, okay? Scenes from a Marriage is a HBO miniseries. It's 5 episodes long, and it is what it says. It's scenes from a marriage, from, earlier on in the marriage to when possibly, maybe, they might be getting a divorce. This, I honestly couldn't really flaw this. It's 2 characters, limited setting, and a lot of the filmmaking really does just let the performances and the writing do the talking. And I adore that for this. It's, I can talk all I want about young adult things and stuff like that. As long as it's got a theme of love in there, I'm going to love this movie. Which in part 2 of this video goes a bit crazy with some of the movies that I watched. I went a little bit of a rom-com guy for a second there. But yeah, Scenes from a Marriage, very, very good. Then I watched still a Michael J. Fox movie, which is the documentary about Michael J. Fox's life. Guy's crazy. I could never be as busy as Michael J. Fox. What was he doing? Working nights on this sitcom and then doing days on Back to the Future, or I think it was the other way around. Incredible. Michael J. Fox, he's such a character seeing him on screen. I hope that if I, for some reason, went through as much stuff that he's been through, I would only hope that I could come out the other side as good of a bloke as Michael J. Fox is, because he's a living legend, and it's made me really want to revisit Back to the Future, because I've never given those movies enough love. I've only seen the first 2, even though I own all 3 on Blu-ray, but I need to go back and check out all 3 because fantastic stuff. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is great, isn't it? The ending is like 15 minutes too long. Like, it should have ended 15 minutes before the end. And I hate that's like a salty taste in my mouth I have from this movie. But I bloody love it. It's a freaking-tastic movie. Animation, fantastic. Storytelling, fantastic. I love seeing the world through Gwen Stacy's eyes a lot more. But I love seeing the world through Gwen Stacy's eyes. I think she's a great protagonist. I know she's not the main protagonist for this movie, but, it's sort of a dual protagonist movie between her and Miles. And I thought that was great. I love the vibe of this movie, and I hope we get to see the 3rd installment of this Spider-Verse franchise. I think it's called Beyond the Spider-Verse. I hope we see it very soon, and I hope those animators are being paid enough and being given reasonable hours in the process. Okay, then on the 5th of June, I watched Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Okay, this is definitely a common thread I have during this year of watching movies, is I got halfway through this movie, and once again, I was like, I get it. Okay. Like, the comedy, it's a really funny movie. The first hour of this movie I thought was super funny, and I was on board for the ride. I loved, just the silliness of it. And then you get halfway through and you do just get a bit tired of the silliness of it. Maybe that's just me. I think maybe I needed it to do something different in the second half, but I wasn't expecting this when I went into this movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Daniel Radcliffe is good fun. It's a 3 out of 5 star movie for me. But it's on Paramount Plus, which that's just dumb. No one has Paramount Plus. But I just got the free trial so that I could watch this movie. And whilst I did have the free trial, I went on and watched Smile, which everyone freaking raved about at the time. And I just thought, this is terrible. Well, it's not terrible. It's a 2 out of 5 star movie for me. If my letterbox would load, I can tell you what I thought about it, because I do not remember this movie at all. Other than I remember The girl in the main poster and, you know, the smiley person at the start of the movie is an Australian actor, and she was in a movie that I loved as a kid, is terrible after watching it as an adult, but Tomorrow When the War Began, she's the lead in that, and so it was great to see her, you know, doing her thing in a big Hollywood movie. I said in my Letterboxd review, it's quite long actually, I'll try to cut this down, the more this movie goes on, the more it completely falls apart, succumbing to trope-filled sequences, cringe-inducing dialogue, and a message that completely misses the mark. Also, what an unlikable main character, painfully betrayed by a plank of wood. Glad my gal from Tomorrow When the War Began is having fun though. After a great first 5 minutes, Smile slowly crumbles, leading into a third act of utter nonsense and horrid tropes. Its only saving grace is a spooky score and some unique direction early on. Direction that quickly starts to try way too hard. So if you want me to like your movie and you're a director out there, just don't try hard is the bottom of the story. Don't try hard. Okay, then, the loves of my life. I said I love love. I love rom-com stuff. I started watching the Before movies for the first time. I watched Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. Couldn't fault either of these movies. They're so perfectly unique. Two characters, location filming, which I always love, especially European location filming. I love it. I love the concept of bringing the directors and the actors back to work on a second installment 9 years on and sort of incorporating that into the script. And I know they do that again for Before Midnight, but the day, I watched these a couple of days apart, the first two Before movies, and a couple of days later, I went to watch Before Midnight, which I know was on Stan, our Australian streaming service. And then the day I went to watch Before Midnight, it got taken off of Stan, never to be seen again. So by now I will probably have watched it, because I am getting it for my birthday, which is in December. Woohoo! I'm getting the Before trilogy and the Criterion Collection on Blu-ray. So I'm going to rewatch all three. Well, rewatch the first two before watching Before Midnight, because I really love those first two movies. Both of them, 5 out of 5 stars for me. Before Sunset probably gets the chocolates out of the two, though. Then I watched The Flash, which is a 1-star, terrible. I hate it. What a bad movie. Then I watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. 3.5 stars. It's not as good as I remember, but it is like just really well-made action movie. It grips me more than John Wick does, and I think that's because there's a little bit more like just practical set pieces in there. Like, holy shit, like the minecart sequence, you don't get that in 2023. You know what I'm saying? That's great. Good for you, Temple of Doom. You did some cool damn sequences. Then I watched Swiss Army Man on the 19th of June, which I sort of did forget I watched, but it probably was one of my favorite movies that I watched this year. This is your boys, the Danny Boys, the Daniels. It's their first, or is it their second feature film? I don't know, but it's Daniel Radcliffe is dead, and he talks using farts, kind of, and his farts can power him to speed through the water like a jet ski, and his penis points our main character, who is this actor, I always forget his fucking name. Like, it's him every time. Paul Dano. I always got to call him Jared Leto. But Paul Dano. Paul Dano wants to go home. Well, he doesn't want to go home, but the movie leads him home, and so does Danny Radcliffe's penis. I hate fart jokes. I don't like silly little penis humor. Holy shit. This movie, that makes it work. And I was in stitches. Just sat at my home just going, this is a hilarious movie. How good's farting? But also, what a sweet little heart and a sweet little core. And how beautiful does this movie look? I think this movie is better and tighter and doesn't hound its theme home as much as, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Daniels recent movie. So I would recommend this if you haven't seen it already. Came out in 2016. And it's just a lot of fun. It sounds bonkers. And it is bonkers. It really is. But I loved it. Loved it to goddamn bits. Then I watched Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Maybe not as bad as some people might say, but still a 2 out of 5 stars for me. What are you doing? Okay, then I watched Empire of Light on the 20th of June, which is 3.5 stars. For me, it is great, very personal movie from Shawn Mendes, because I like him. He's a good filmmaker. I think this looks amazing. This is Roger Deakins' cinematography. and I think he got nominated. I can't remember if he won for best cinematography at the Oscars in 2022. And it looks fantastic. I'm so on board with it. You've got old mate. Who's Dobby? Who's Dobby again? Can someone Toby Jones? Toby Jones? You got Toby Jones in there. You got Olivia Colman, and both of those guys for me take the cake. This movie is lovely, if a little bit slow at times, but I liked it a lot. Then I watched Aftersun, which sounds like a fitting way for me to end part one of this movie. Why can't I talk? Holy fuck, I was doing so well. Then I watched Aftersun, which seems like a fitting way for me to end part one of this video. Which, on the third viewing of Aftersun, I sort of went, okay, I'm watching this movie to death right now, and I need to stop. I've watched it 4 times in 3 months, and I found myself getting a little bit bored, not because of the movie, but because I'd seen it a couple too many times. And it's a slow burn movie, so you got to keep that in mind. So I figured, I'm not going to watch this movie for another 6 months or a year, which I haven't. I haven't watched it since. But I still love it. This is not a fault to the movie. I still think it's a 5-star movie. Yeah. So that is my first 6 months of watching movies in 2023. I'm not sure when part 2 of this is going to come out, but hopefully not too far behind, although I'm going to Japan soon, so that might get in the way and it might be a month late. But I hope you guys have had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I assume this is going to come out between Christmas and New Year. I'm not sure. But yeah, make sure you stick around, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like me just like rambling into a microphone about films and TV, I'm going to stop talking. I'm just rambling now. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like the video if you haven't already. And I'll see you in part 2, probably in January or something like that. January sounds good. Okay, thanks guys. Bye-bye.